Welcome to The Delight of Composition. I'm Timothy W. McDunn. I'm so glad you're with us. Today we're going to talk about a technique called set multiplication. This technique was first defined by the 20th century French composer Pierre Boulez, who used it in a piece called Le Marteau sans Maître. It's this crazy, wild piece that pushes our understanding of what we think of as music. When Boulez first described this technique to the 20th century composer Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, Stockhausen allegedly fell asleep in the middle of the description. We're going to approach it in a more interesting way, and I hope you won't fall asleep. Now, set multiplication might sound really complex or abstract, but it's actually quite simple. All you need to know how to do in order to use this technique is how to transpose chords. That's it. Anyone can compose. So we're going to pick two chords that we like. Take out your manuscript paper and compose along with me at home. I'm just going to pick these two chords. You should pick your own, any chord that you like. And I'm going to use this dominant 7th chord and this minor flat 9 chord. Now, be careful with the flat 9 chord. You could kill people with a flat 9. So all you have to do to perform set multiplication is to take the members of one of these chords and turn them into the roots of their own chords. I'm going to take this note and build a dominant chord off of it. I'll take this note and I'll build that minor 9 chord. Now, I'm going to think of the flat 9 as the root. That's not technically correct, but if you don't tell anyone, I won't. I started with this small nugget of an idea, just two chords, and I crossed them with each other. And now I have this expanding idea. It's a beautiful concept. Now, this isn't the way that Boulez does set multiplication, by the way. But what's to stop us from taking Boulez's basic idea and doing our own thing with it? Absolutely nothing, other than our own inhibition. So now that I wrote out these 4 chords, what's to stop us from multiplying these 4 chords by the dominant 7 and minor flat 9? Absolutely nothing. So I'm going to take this first chord, this dominant 7th chord, and now build chords off of that. And I'm just picking freely between the dominant 7 and minor flat 9, which one to build. I'm going to build these minor 9 chords off of these notes. I like these minor flat 9. When I'm sketching, sometimes I like to draw a little line to separate my ideas. And I'll take this chord now, and I'll write out each of the members of this chord, and I'm going to build other chords off of each of the members of this chord. And then I'm going to take this chord and write out the members of that chord. So I've got the beginnings of a chord progression. I'll take the final chord that I had. You see what's happening? I have these 2 chords, just this really small idea, and I cross them with each other, like 2 organisms in nature falling in love, and they produce this abundance of material, right? This abundance of life. And then I cross them with each other again, and they produce yet another generation. So from just this very small beginning, you have this proliferation of life. Sometimes I like to use the geometry of the page to organize the generations of set multiplication. I'm going to write the exact same passage, but I'll put the boomers on the left side of the page. Now I'll space the millennials evenly across each line. Now let's put the grandchildren between the millennials. If you take a look at any given one of these lines, you'll actually see that the notes form a familiar scale. Let's take all the notes of this line and write them out as a scale. The notes together form the octatonic scale. I'll have to tell you in another tutorial how I did that. So the next thing I like to do with this material is put these chords in some kind of order. I'm going to mess with the order within each of these cells. I want to pick an order that has very few common tones. The next thing I want to do is try to sculpt a melody out of these chords. And a melody can be really simple. I'm thinking of Brahms' Opus 118, which is really just an F major scale. I'm actually going to find just a chromatic scale in here. That's going to be my melody, this chromatic descending line. The next thing I want to do is add a little rhythm to it. To convey an abundance of materials, I'm going to use some lively rhythms. These chords are pretty rich, so I'm going to put them in an upper register. So I'm going to leave out some of the common tones. Here's what this whole passage sounds like. Be sure to share your own set multiplication exercise on the Delight of Composition landing page. We'll use this to build community and share ideas. Link in the doobly-doo.